mind is only subconscious if you're not looking at it, or rather, if you're not looking into it. People look at life through the body and the brain for a long period of time, and so the mind becomes conditioned. The contents of the mind become conditioned within that dimension, meaning it's temporarily conditioned to be that way. But at any point, it's possible to totally release that gathered conditioning, at which point the unconditioned is realized. This is hard to get your head around. It's very conceptual. The language is conceptual. But essentially what it means is that you can get stuck in the conditioning of your experience. Given the nature of how the mind functions, it's possible to get stuck. Some people think this experience we're having is called a soul trap. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a new concept to me. It's something I've only just heard pop up in the last probably about 6 months. Also, in another way of explaining it, there is this element of karma and reincarnation, right? And some teachers have explained in the past that the goal of the enlightenment process is to annihilate karma, to be released from karma. So this means, just that alone, if you look into that reality, into the existence of those principles, means, or reveals rather, that it's, as a mind, as a being, it's possible to get stuck in your own creation, imprisoned, because the mind becomes conditioned to be so habitually focused on some small elements, some particular form, a body, for example, or a thought, or a feeling. And so you get stuck on it. It's temporary, but still, it's possible to get stuck in that. And so, through a simple redirection of attention, that can be abandoned. The prison, the apparent prison, can be escaped. Escaping the matrix is another way that people these days are trying to talk about it. But they have the wrong idea of what the matrix is. They don't realize the matrix is their own psychology. They think the physical world is the matrix. But it's not. The matrix is your own psychology. The physical world isn't real. The physical world is actually immaterial. It's just a perception. Am I going off track here? I'll carry on a little bit. To perceive a physical dimension of life is just a perception. If you drop the perception, the whole world disappears. That's not the matrix. The matrix is the perception part, and people get stuck in their perceptions. And then the psychology, the thinking that arises from that perception, they get stuck in that, and then they think various things, lots of different things, which is all insane. But the good part about this situation is, as with the mind, it can be conditioned into repeating patterns and cycles, cyclically repeating patterns for 1,000 years, 1,000 lifetimes, 10,000 lifetimes, and then at any point, if there is enough energy, I suppose is one way of putting it, gathered, cultivated, or suffering too, that also does the job. It can release itself from that conditioning, but it has to be able to let go. So the mind conditions itself. The mind isn't conditioned by reality, but the reality is. The reality of experience is mind conditioning mind. Mind conditions itself. And thereby, and so therefore, it can uncondition itself by releasing its own contents, by releasing its own attachment. This is the thing about suffering that people don't realize, or, well, they do eventually. You're the one doing all of this. All of it. Everything, every bit of it. Every bit of this life, all of it. Your life, my life, life everywhere. It's mind doing that. So there's nobody to blame. And there's no possible way that anyone can imprison you, hurt you, cause you problems. Only within the illusion of separateness is that possible, and that's an illusion. That's not real. But if you don't pierce deeply into that reality, or the truth of that, I should say, then it's possible to go on thinking that other people are imprisoning you or attacking you or hurting you. This is the thing with this soul trap. Sorry about that squeak, I meant to mute the microphone. I've got a squeaky boom. This whole thing about the soul trap, one of the main elements to the theory is that when you die, if you go into the white light, it's a trap. And this white light has been established by highly advanced extraterrestrial interdimensional beings who want to imprison your soul within the matrix again, within the world, because you are essentially a resource. Instead of the term like a human resource, you are a spirit resource, and if they can trap you back into the physical dimension, then they can use you for their programming, for their programs or whatever it is. I don't look too deeply into it, but I look enough into it to see what people are getting stuck on and what wrong perceptions they have to have in order to believe what it is that they believe. And so there are many similar theories about some sort of malevolent force that's manipulating you, controlling you, wants to hurt you, could possibly hurt you or control you, etc., etc. Anyway, it's more of the illusion. It's all mind conditioning. Mind, which is your mind, you doing that. And so it's within your power to undo that, to let it go. Let it all go. Let it dissolve. No matter what fantastical, amazing, fascinating fantasy you have conjured for yourself, you just let it all go.